to our November 5th, 2019 Board of Commissioners meeting, and I ask Commissioner Joe Dollar's invocation.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, your wisdom, and your support during this meeting. Help us to engage in thoughtful and meaningful discussion, and allow us as a group foster the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that will affect the citizens of Wayne County. Lord, please continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the greater glory for you and for the service of our citizens. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Please stand. Before we say the Pledge of Allegiance, though, let's remember why we say the pledge to this flag. So many men and women have sacrificed so much for this flag, and this gentleman right here beside me has won all of them. So let's say the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get started, I mentioned that Vice Chairman Pate is at home recovering from his surgery week before last.
Yes, sir.
I think he's ready to get out and get moving, but he's doing really well and sends his regards to everyone. And also, Commissioner Mayo's out today. He's got a bad cold, I think, and he's going to the doctor this morning. So we'll get through this one today. So can I have an approval of minutes of the October 15th meeting?
I move approval.
Motion made. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. All right, discussion, adjustment agendas.
No adjustments to this time, Mr. Chairman.
Does any commissioner have anything to add or adjust? Do I have a motion to approve the agendas?
So move.
Motion made. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Mr. Honeycutt, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, it is time for our quarterly employee service meeting. And we would like to ask everybody to come, and once you have your pen, if you will stand in front of these commissioners.
All right, we begin with Jacob S. Carmichael, Emergency Medical Services. Alexandria R. Davis, Health. Sharita L. Dixon with the jail. Corey A. Merrill with the jail. Hunter Thompson, non-emergency transport. Patrick Bollinger, non-emergency transport. Brittany Champion with the library. Jana Doherty, emergency medical services. James L. Drum, emergency medical services. Austin L. Landers, solid waste department. Jessica L. McBride, facilities. Jonica Pennick Brown, emergency medical services. Greta Reese, cooperative extension. Heather Watkins, Facilities. Now we go to our 5-year. Beginning with Jody M. Williamson, Sheriff's Office. Michael Albertson, Emergency Services. Deborah Bird, DSS Income Maintenance. Logan E. Thorne, DSS Child Support. Amy L. Vineyard, DSS Income Maintenance. That concludes our 5-year. Now our 10-year pins, beginning with Tanya Denise Bryant. She works with the jail. Wesley Roland Carter Jr., Emergency Medical Services. Michael Anthony Jackson with the jail. That concludes our 10-year. Those of you at the end, if you want to come around and, because we're going to get a picture of you. All right, our 25-year pins, beginning with Todd Smothers, Tax Administration. Carrie L. Woodard, DSS Income Maintenance. Michelle Craig, Health Department, Child Services. And Yolanda Tackett, DSS Income Maintenance. That concludes our 25-year service pins. And finally, for 30 years, Matthew Holt, Housekeeping. All right, if all of you will just stand there for a moment and look up at those cameras for just a moment. And thank you.
Where is it?
Noisy bunch.
Mr. Chairman, again, thanks to our employees. We really do have a very good, dedicated, and committed staff to Wayne County, so we've got a lot to be proud of. Next, we're going to have an update from the Maxwell Center by our General Manager, James Wade. And James got some exciting news and some holiday events, so I'm going to turn it over to James.
Morning, gentlemen, everyone. Just to update you a little bit, we are very proud that once again we are an award-winning building. In 2018, we won the Convention South Readers' Choice Award, which is given out. There's about 2,400 people that are in different groups that are nominated. This year in 2019, there were 26 winners in the state of North Carolina, and we were one of the winners, and this is our second year winning that award. It is voted on by people and nominated by people in the industry who have events in buildings that are located in the south of the U.S., and so we're very excited to win that again. Here locally, we were also nominated for and won the News Argus Reader's Choice Award for Best Venue, so we're proud of that. We're very happy when people come out to our venue and have a good time, and we're even happier whenever they sign a contract to come back for their second year, and we're seeing a lot of that in our second year. A lot of events are coming back that have been there before, and a lot of people are coming in where they came to our building with one event, and now they're bringing a different event into the building also because of how well the first one went. So we're very happy about that. I would like to introduce two new employees today. Two of our employees that had been with us since the beginning, Amy, who was at the front desk as staff assistant, and Marisha, who was an event manager, have both moved on to other pastures for themselves. And so recently we have hired a new event manager, Cody Stevens, and we have hired a new staff assistant and front desk person, Ms. Kendra Spate. And I don't think she's related, but. Since March 1st was the start of our second full year in operations, we've had 150 event days so far since March 1st, and we have about 75 more events currently scheduled between now and next February 29th. So we're on track to do at least 250 events in our second year. In our first year, we did 204 events, so we are going to do more than our first year. And we'll continue to add shows as we move toward that date because a lot of smaller shows only get added to the calendar anywhere from a week to a month or so before the event happens. So we'll look forward to booking even more. As of right now, looking at the fiscal year, July, August, and September are the three slowest months that we have in the year, and that's normal for a lot of buildings, especially July and August is usually slow. But we are at 20% of our expected rental income that is budgeted for the fiscal year already. We've done about 28% of our revenue budget for alcohol sales, and about 30% of our food and beverage income we've already met. So we are on target that we should do well with our budget once again this year. We are selling bricks once again. Ms. Carroll knows. So anyone who needs to do something different for Christmas or to memorialize someone, we are selling more brick pavers on our courtyard, and we encourage you to take a look at that. The other thing that I would like to announce is our holiday open house. We are having a holiday open house on Thursday, December 5th. The Wayne County Chamber of Commerce is helping us out on that. We appreciate that. Basically, we'll have the building open. All the rooms will be set where you can see it. We still have people, believe it or not, that have not been in our building. And so this is a sales and marketing tool to get folks to come into our building, come out and have some free food and drinks on us and take a look at our building and what we can do for you. And we'll be sending all of you a personal invitation to come attend that on the 5th. That's pretty much everything for the moment, unless anyone has questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I had the pleasure of going out and visiting with James a couple of weeks ago to inquire about a date for January. And he informed me that the month of January 2020, the only date open during the week was the 17th. Other than that, that building is booked every single day during the week. So I commend y'all on what you're doing, and
We
Keep the
appreciate it.
keep the bucks coming in.
We appreciate it, and one of the things that we do hear sometimes from folks who are in the public, and usually it's someone who has not been in our building, but they'll tell us, well, I never see that anything's happening there, but what people need to realize is 90% or more of our events are private events, so they're not advertised to the public. They're training events, corporate events, private weddings, private parties, private dinners. And so although we do certainly have some public events and some public fundraisers and things like that, a lot of our events are private, so you're not going to see it on a calendar, but we do stay busy.
I take it you booked the 17th.
No, that was the wrong date. I don't know where we're going.
We tried.
Yeah, he tried, but it's the people that had the day that I wanted have more money than we had.
Great job.
Anything else? All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, James. Next, I want to introduce Don Williams, who is the general manager of Gateway, and Don has a special announcement to make.
Good morning, and I actually have a brief video, a couple-minute video that we'll show in just a second. I'm excited to be here, and we have a couple promotions that we're going to share about today and help us get the word out, if you would. Our veterans are a very important part of our community, and coming up next week is Veterans Day on Monday. And so our board of directors and the GWTA likes to honor our veterans every year with a week of free rides. So first of all, I'll have a short video that hopefully should be on, it's on the flash drive, so it may be. I'm sorry. And we'll show, it's just a couple-minute video, and it'll talk a little bit about our Veterans Ride Free promotion starting Monday, the 11th, and it runs through Saturday, the 16th. And after that, we'll talk a little bit about a second promotion, just briefly, that we're going to do for our veterans.
The veterans, they work so hard and they served our country, and I think they deserve one day.
Anytime anybody wants to do something special for vets, it's good to see them come out and take advantage of it.
Well, I think that's a good service for the veterans. They recognize them and they appreciate their service also. And I would recommend them too, to keep information on them so they can get a free ride, showing that we did appreciate what they did for the states.
This is like giving back. They've served. I love to serve them.
And I think GWTA is real good at saving money by letting disabled veterans ride for half price. And so any other veteran who is hearing this message, come out and check GWTA out.
Get out and see where we go and check out all the routes and see what, benefits where it can take you to.
I ride free every year, every time they have it. I'm Edwin Gentry, United States Army.
My name is W.L. Sutton. I was in the Army.
I'm Roger Green, Air Force.
Edward Jones, Army.
My name is Van Harvey. I served in the Army.
Eloise Hopkins Hemingway. I served the United States Army.
We are veterans.
We are veterans.
We are veterans. We are veterans, and we are GWTA.
And I just wanted to thank Carol and Joel, because they actually put that together for us. And they had a really cool idea to not just to honor the veterans, but also to recognize that at last check, a quarter of our workforce was actually veterans. And so our veterans serve and sacrifice for us, and when they retire, they want to keep serving. And we have a great place for you to come and serve if you're a veteran and you'd like to do that. After our Veterans Ride Free week, the following week, starting on Monday the 18th, we're going to do a new promotion for veterans. It's going to be a ride for half fare. And we'll run that for 6 months. We want to encourage our veterans to come out and use the service, and we'll track it, and we'll see how it does. So starting the week after Veterans Day week, Monday, November 18th, if you want to come by the Transfer Center, we'll get you some ID cards identifying you as a veteran, and you can ride for half fare through the end of May 2020, and then we'll take it from there. So we want to continue to honor our veterans even after Veterans Day. And I thank you very much for the opportunity to share a little bit about that, and I don't know if there are any questions for me. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, since we have Don here, I think Don needs to pound his chest a little bit about the recent audit that GWTA received and that we passed. So, Don, if you want to mention that.
Well, and I hate to brag, but I am very excited. The last 3 years, every 3 years, Federal Transit Administration will do an audit of systems all across the country to confirm compliance. And there are 21 different facets of one of those reviews or audits, and every one of them is pretty detailed. And so this last 3-year period, they came in and took a look at us real close, and we had no findings. I was told that average you'll get 8 or 9 findings in one of those reviews. And I feel very proud to be part of the team. There's a very solid foundation here that was built, and we've done really well in that audit. Atlanta Federal Transit did a conference call last week, and they announced that there were only 2 systems in the Southeast that got no findings, and we were one of the 2. So I'm very humbled, actually, because no one person can do that. It took years of hard work and consistency. So I'm proud to be part of it.
Great job.
Thank you. Now on to public comments time. If anyone in the audience would like to come forward and speak. All right, no one wish to speak. We'll close the comments time out. And start with unfinished business, Mr. Honeycutt.
Appointments.
I'm sorry, I missed you again. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, we do have some reappointments this morning for committees. The first one is we'd like to reappoint Dr. Anthony Willett and Ms. Pamela Anderson to the Wayne County Board of Health. That's in form of a motion.
All right. Heard the motion. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
We also would like to reappoint Mr. Willie James Walker to the Wayne County Council on Aging. That's a form of a motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
And last, Mr. Chairman, we would like to reappoint Mr. Curtis Stafford to the Wayne County Planning Board, and that's in form of a motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
That's all we have today, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, Wayne, for jumping you that time. Mr. Honeycutt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next, under unfinished business, is discussion and possible motion to approve amendments to the 2017 limited obligation bonds and debt issuance projects, and Ms. Spate will make that presentation.
Good morning. You have before you a memo and a few budget amendments and amendments to capital project ordinances. So I will give you a brief explanation of what we are requesting here. In your memo, it does explain that the county manager and myself met with Dr. Dunsmore and Mr. Michael Hayes, and we talked about the Southern Wayne High School gym project and what that total budget would be. So we discussed some of the balances they had over here remaining in their sales tax fund and some balances we had remaining in out of our 2017 LOBS bond issuance. So what we have discussed and what we would like to present to you all are a couple of things. The first budget amendment that you have, number 179, is transferring the savings from the bond project for the Grantham Sewer. That total savings was $608,686. We are requesting to reallocate $200,000 of that for a fiber loop to be extended to the DSS Dixie Trail facility. Then we are requesting the remaining amount of $408,686 to be transferred to the Southern Wayne High School gym project, which was also a bond project. And we are legally allowed to do this. We have discussed this with our attorneys, with our bond attorneys, as long as it was covered under that 2017 bond issuance as a project, we can reallocate among those projects as we see fit. So behind that budget amendment, you have 3 capital project ordinances. These are just this is legal paperwork that we have to do to amend those capital project ordinances. You have a second budget amendment, number 180. The remaining balance that was needed to finish out the Southern Wayne Gym High School project was $2,820,735. So after we discussed this with the schools at that meeting, they requested that we take some funds from the school sales tax fund that is sitting over on our books and allocate that to the Southern Wayne Gym project. Now, any future sales tax monies and lottery monies are used for debt service. But a few years ago, there was an amount set aside for, at that time, Fremont Stars. It was around $4.6 million. And since then, we've used it for architect fees for Northwest. But there is some monies remaining in that fund that we can allocate to the Southern Wayne Gym High School project. And if you choose to do that, there will be a balance remaining in that sales tax fund of $1,566,356. And the county manager is recommending that we hold those monies in the school sales tax fund in case there are any change orders that come up during the process of the Southern Wayne High School gym being constructed. Do you have any questions on that?
And we do have Dr. Harrell and Dr. Lewis with the school system here. Dr. Dunsmore could not be here today, but we appreciate them showing up as well. Have any specific questions about the project?
Well, I was only going to like to add, I think, to the members of the school administration. I was by Southern Wayne yesterday, and I saw a big machine out there doing some dirt moving and smoothing. And so we're very excited that we have long hoped for and got that project in place, and that work is actually being moved. Anytime you see the big machines, they'll start moving dirt. And I know at some point, we're probably gonna get the dirt just right for us to go down with some of those shovels and take some pictures and everything like that. But thank you very much
We talked about that this morning, about the groundbreaking, and they're going to give us a couple of dates, and we'll get that back to the board as quickly as possible. So we've not forgotten the groundbreaking.
Thank you for moving that project along.
Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, Commissioner Mayo could not be here today, but he did want me to express his concerns in regards to the use of these dollars for this purpose, in that we still have urgent need for classrooms to replace our mobile units. He, along with the other members on the board, have agreed that this project is of great importance, and we're moving it forward. But we wanted to make sure that people realize that we have not addressed our classroom issue. And as we take these dollars for this much-needed project, we still have an urgent need to build classrooms. And hopefully we're going to find a way, and our community can come together to find some ways in order to provide those classrooms that are really needed. Two, I would be remiss if I do not also express some concerns of some of my constituents in regards to, as we open up these and layer these back and open this onion up, some of my constituents are concerned that they have a much-needed facility need at Spring Creek High School, which has been on the back burner for many years. So hopefully the school board and our board can get together and find some ways to actually provide the funds for these much-needed facilities. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any more questions for Allison?
Mr. Chairman, we got, the main thing that we got to keep in mind, our children are our future. And I agree with Mr. Commissioner Doherty. Classrooms are a priority. I'm certainly don't mean that other things are not priorities too, but we got to put the kids first. They need their education. We have great teachers, and there's needs all over the county for improvement in our school facilities. really no fault to anyone. It's just that they've aged out, and it's finally caught up with us. And we probably, in the past, have done some kind of poor planning. But now it's time to step up. And a couple of years ago, we tried to get a 1/4 cent sales tax passed, and all of that proceeds was going to facilities. I can't speak for the rest of the board. No one likes tax increases, but think about what this would go for, to educating our children. It may be time to address that again and see can we, do a better job of selling it to the public, and that would give us some funds to solve part of these problems. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You get a motion?
Make a motion to.
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion to approve.
I bet you would.
I would like to make a motion to approve the requested information that was presented by our budget director, and word for word as she spoke to it. And that's a form of a motion.
All right. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify, raise your right hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, under unfinished business is number 2, motion to approve a request to rezone 29.05 acres of land near the intersection of Ruskin Road and Sleepy Creek Road from residential agriculture 20 to light industrial in the Brogdon Township. And I will turn that over to Ms. Barry Gray, who's our planning director.
All right, good morning. This request is for 29 acres. Again, it is from RA20 to heavy industrial. The applicant is Georgia Pacific. Of course, you did hear this last month with your public hearing, and it was carried over, of course, to today so that we could, or so that the applicant could come back, with some more detail. Since then, I have had a brief discussion with the applicant to look at the heavy industrial zoning that was originally requested. I think there was some discussion at that meeting in terms of whether there was a less intense district that may be appropriate. The applicant has shown a willingness to rezone to light industrial versus heavy industrial. The applicant is present and is probably going to be willing or wanting to speak to that, to verify, of course, their willingness to do that. But I did want to leave you with that and ask if you have any questions for me. I'll be glad to answer them.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the application to rezone the property as light industry. And that's in the form of a motion.
For Mr. Daugherty's motion, is there any further discussion?
If I might, Mr. Chairman. Wanted to make the motion first so I could discuss it. I want to applaud Georgia Pacific for recognizing the concerns of the area residents and coming to a compromise in regards to the zoning to a light industry. I think it works well and speaks well that everybody is trying to find a common ground there. And so with that in mind is why I made the motion that I did.
Any other comments?
Well, I'd also like to add, in the absence of my colleague on my left, he, somewhere right near the end of the previous meeting, we discussed there was some enlightenment about the use of property as light industry. And after that time, Mr. Gray provided me with some specifics about light industry, in which I passed on along to some of the residents in the area. And it's all about a balance of what we can protect neighborhoods and support industry at the same time. So I'm hoping that outcome of the switch from heavy to light industry would be a positive for the whole area.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with my two fellow commissioners. This is the right thing to do. At some point, they may need to come back and request part of what they've got to heavy industry. But we invest a lot each year in trying to recruit new industry, and this is a good showing that we are certainly in favor of protecting what industry we already have, because Georgia Pacific is a large taxpayer in Wayne County, but it's not all about money. But they're providing jobs in Wayne County, and hopefully this will add a few more jobs, and that's our goal, is to help our citizens have a place of employment. Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, I ask you. Oh. You gonna say something?
I would like to.
Okay.
Public comments. Hey, good morning. First and foremost, we thank God for this opportunity. I noticed that Mr. Daughtry opened the floor with a prayer, and then Mr. Aycock said that it was important the children were our future. We have properties on Sleepy Creek, and we have concerns with what exactly is light industrial. A lot of us didn't receive letters or notification about meetings and things of that matter. And also, we just don't want to feel as if that we understand the significance of Georgia Pacific, the contributions they've made to the community. But my family has owned land in that area for well over 150 years. And when you go from residential and farming, agricultural, to heavy duty or light duty, it can have a negative impact on the residents that live in that area. And we just don't have a lot of information about exactly what Georgia Pacific is going to do. We know what Georgia Pacific is involved in, which is manufacturing of plywood. Many of us have worked for them. But I still think, even though they bring a certain amount of money into the county and they do employ numerous individuals, I think that it's wrong to just totally disregard how it will impact those that live in that area. And because Mr. Daughtry opened the floor with prayer, I would think that God would maybe touch your hearts and wonder how you would feel if big industry was coming. And it just seems like, I don't want to use the word rubber stamp, but it just seems like that's a done deal. When they purchased the land, they knew well indeed that it was residential and agricultural, and we know that Georgia Pacific is not going to farm, nor are they going to build homes. And so we come in and we just change the lives of those that have lived there for well over a century. And I just think that it's wrong. And just because it's Georgia Pacific, which I understand who they are and what they've done, I think still we need more information of exactly what is light industry. I mean, are you going to cut roads through? I go back to what Mr. Aycock said about the children being our future. And, you know, these trucks, all of the things that Georgia Pacific does, it does have in some way a negative impact on the people that live near. You smell you smell the sawdust, you hear the trucks, and it's going to change everything. And I would hope, I heard Mr. Aycock also mention that you may have to come back and eventually go to heavy duty. Well, what about the people that live there? I mean, no, we can't make the tax contributions that Georgia Pacific can. We can't employ people. But when you bring in a company like this into our backyard and just uproot the lives of those that have lived here, there are 4 or 5 different people here from this neighborhood. We don't carry a lot of weight, but all of us have been a part of Sleepy Creek and Ruskin Road and all this area for almost a century. And just to tell GP that they can come in and do this, and of course they agree to light duty. I mean, maybe we don't know what their intentions are, and I think, with all due respect, we need to know what they're planning on doing. I don't think any of you live anywhere near that place, but it will impact the lives of all of us that are residents that are taxpayers, that have lived there long before Georgia-Pacific ever came to Dudley. And we do appreciate what they do, but what we're asking is just don't change our whole, what we've been accustomed to for years. And that's all I have to say as a resident. I appreciate you guys giving us an opportunity to come, but I just feel in a way that when Georgia-Pacific purchased the 29 acres, they already knew that based on what they were doing, that when they came before this distinguished group of gentlemen, that they were going to get what they wanted. They're not going to farm. They're not going to move there. It's industry, and it's going to change the lives of all of those that live in this area and have lived here for well over centuries in some cases. Thank you so much, but we really would like to know what light industry means. We'd like to know what you're planning on doing. You know, we just don't want it to be that, you know, you say light industry, and then you're cutting roads through and doing all this. And then I was told that there was a compromise. You know, the Georgia-Pacific had compromised from heavy duty to light duty. And I don't think anyone here was in that meeting when the compromise took place. So who was the compromise between? Georgia-Pacific and the county commissioners? I think that residents had a right to be there to voice their opinion before there was any compromise. It's not really a compromise to us. So we appreciate your time, and we hope that the Lord will lay it on your heart to look at this matter, you know, seriously, as if it would affect your life, your grandchildren, your children, your properties. And we hope that you guys will not ever think about coming back and making it heavy industry. So that's it. Earl Dancy, Sleepy Creek Road, Dudley, North Carolina. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate you.
I don't mean to go up here, but anyway, I'm concerned about, there's one family on the corner of Sleepy Creek Road and Ruskin. Lois Davis. I live on Sleepy Creek Road beside the buyout. Does this Washington family know about this, that live in Washington, D.C.? The land on the corner there? Are they familiar with what's happening? The Washington family on the corner? And are you offering a buyout for people that don't want these logs in their backyard with all these dangerous snakes and black widows and so forth? Are they offering a buyout for the place that the individuals live on their lots and their property? And as Mr. Dancer said, the railroad track involved, the direction that they would be coming in, what road, we need to know this, because otherwise it's going to develop a lot of serious problems. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Question for Mr. Gray. We have a list here of all of, is this all of the list we have? Is that all of the parties that would be involved in needing to be notified?
Yeah, we send notices to all adjacent property owners. And so we do have a list of those names. Washington, the ones on the corner, the Washingtons, they did receive it, or we did mail them a notice.
I didn't get one, and I'm next door.
Right. Well, we mail them out about 3 weeks before the public hearing. And so we did mail them out to all adjacent property owners.
But if we're not getting the letters, what does it matter if you say you left mail them out? You know, we're hearing this secondhand information, hearsay. We own properties, we're not getting anything from you guys. But you say you mail it. Either there's a problem with the mail, or there's a problem with your system of mailing the letters. And we deserve the right to know what's going on. We should have to find out after meetings. In many cases, that's what is taking place. You just can't push it past us without us at least making us aware of it.
Did the letter state that they were going to offer buyouts so people won't have to live under those conditions, log trucks piled up in your backyard?
No, the letter was just a letter of public notice, just notifying of this meeting and what the rezoning request was. Any buyouts would be between the company and any private property owners, not with this board.
Mr. Gray, you sent those notices out to all the adjoining property owners. Were any of those returned?
No, and I have a list of the names if you would like for me to.
We have a list right here in our
Yeah,
packet.
we've got a list. And there were signs that were posted, even though I understand they were somewhere.
Yeah, at some
removed.
point, we went out and checked them, and somebody actually took them. They didn't just blow over, somebody actually took those signs.
And we did have a public hearing on this matter at our last meeting, is that correct?
This is not a public hearing.
Right.
And it was advertised in the news.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I call the question.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
and I understand the process of moving this forward, but according to what I've been led to understand, Mark Pope, our developer,
Mark is
for instance,
here.
would have been here.
Mark is here.
Is there anything he could add to that before we, and I need you to add whatever you can add, but a significant number of the residents of that area, although technically may not live next door to it, that's not a real large area, so you're gonna impact a lot of folk around that. But just share with us whatever you might add to that.
You know, that's a hard situation when you have folks that live close to a site that big. You know, Georgia Pacific, you know, what they manufacture is not a small component and not a small product. So, you know, they use rail, they use the highway, and they use heavy equipment. There's impacts in that community. The other impact is you got an employer that's 1,000 people. So they're employing a lot of folks out there. So if there's issues that are on rail or on roads, then we need to get our DOT partners, if that's the issue. If it's noise and things like that, that's a hard one to discuss and try to fix because of what they do. You know, the only thing I know is these folks are looking at maybe a parking area is what they're looking at. But the other issue is, in our world, when we're trying to create jobs, is how do we make that company more poised or positioned to grow? Because we want to grow and create jobs. That's what we want all of them to do. You know, in our world, 85% of the expansions are from your existing employers. So we want all our industries to grow. That's because they create revenues and they create jobs for disposable income. So, you know, it's a delicate matter. We don't want to impact folks that have lived there for over 100 years, but it's one of those things that it happens. But if there's issues, there's a safety issue, then there's avenues that we need to pursue with our DOT partners with road or rail or whatever to put up whatever safety issues there would be. But, you know, when you got an employer that's going to grow and we don't want to take them out of the mix if they have a possible expansion, if they bring another 100, 200 jobs, that's the kind of the fine line you have to look at.
Mr. Chairman, I know Mr. Daugherty has called for a vote, but can I make one comment before we? This not only impacts Georgia Pacific. I've had one company to come to my house and talk to me. This impacts other companies in the county also, your trucking companies. We have another very large company in Wayne County that relies heavily on one of the products that comes from Georgia Pacific. I won't call any names because I don't want them to be involved in it. But this is more than just Georgia Pacific. This is trucking companies, and it's companies that use the product from Georgia Pacific, or possibly some of the byproducts from Georgia Pacific. But it is unfortunate that you know, some people do live close to it. But this impacts more in Wayne County than just Georgia Pacific. Thank you.
All right. Motion been made. All in favor, please signify, raise your right hand. Thank you.
All right. Opposed?
Any opposed? So I didn't see you down there.
My head was in the way.
Could y'all just explain to us what just happened? I mean, I understand what everybody's saying, but Georgia Pacific hasn't really presented a plan as to what they plan on doing. If they're gonna cut roads in there, where it's gonna be located, or anything that, I know there's a ditch running through there that's gonna impact the whole situation going through it. You passed it without, everybody asking, are there any more questions? So that's our question, even though you got, now, they're saying they're gonna build another parking lot. When I come by there, that parking lot is not full to start with. So if they're gonna build a new parking lot, that means that parking lot that's existing there should be full to the max, and people park inside the road. I come through there 2 or 3 times a day, and I see empty parking place all over the place. So it's gotta be more than just building a parking lot. We had the Georgia Pacific man here, he hasn't said a word. We don't know what they plan on doing. And last week, he said he didn't, last time he said he wasn't prepared. So is he prepared now to present what he's planning on doing?
This was not approving a site plan or actual use. This was just approving the zoning of that property that lists the uses that can be used upon that property. But at this point, Georgia Pacific has not come to the county with a specific site plan for development of those sites. This is just to say that the uses under light industry is now approved to be used on those parcels.
Yeah, I understand that, but still, they should, I think they, even for when they bought it, they had something in mind that, what they were planning on doing with that property. Like Mr. Dancer said, they got a plan. You don't buy a piece of property without having a plan for it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I might, can we move on our agenda to item 2? I don't think we have a public hearing scheduled at this point, so if we could go ahead and move on with our agenda.
So that means that this matter is concluded?
It is concluded.
Okay, under unfinished business number 3, motion to approve franchise agreement for non-emergency transport with North State Transport. And we do have our EMS director, Mr. Dave Cutterback here, who would like to go over the proposed agreement.
Good morning. Over the past 2 months, we've been evaluating operations for a non-emergency transport company coming into Wayne County.
Dave, hold on just a second.
Thank you.
Over the past 2 months, we've been evaluating a non-emergency transport company coming into Wayne County. And today, we'd like to move forward with our franchise agreement with North State Medical Transport. We are looking at them operating an evening into the morning, starting at 1800, going into 0600, and working all day on Sundays. We would like to move forward with that franchise agreement today.
This has been reviewed by our county attorneys. It's been reviewed by North State, and again, we have sent this to UNC Health. And at this point, we have no comment back from them. But we would like to move forward. There is a second reading, since this is a franchise, that will be at our November 15th meeting. So we will have final approval at that time.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve this agreement.
Motion been made. Any discussion?
My understanding, we're going to vote on that today, and then again, so there'll be 2 votes on this. Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. All in favor, please signify, raise your right hand.
And Mr. Chair, I do want to thank Dave and the work that he and Nanette has done on this, and also our county attorneys. We really have expedited this fairly quickly, and I appreciate Dave's willingness to move this forward. So it'll be a good thing for us.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you, Dave. Next, we have a public hearing.
Yes, sir, we do have a public hearing. Number one, receive comments on a request to rezone 152 acres of land at the intersection of Pecan Road and Mitchell Road, identified as tax parcel 3507-039-221, from airport, residential, agricultural, from airport AP and residential agricultural 30 to heavy industry and light industry in the Brogdon Township as recommended by the planning department. And again, I'll turn that over to Barry.
All right, this is a rezoning request, 452 acres. Approximately, they're looking to rezone 120 acres to heavy industrial and 32 acres to light industrial. This property is at the intersection of Mitchell Road and Pecan Road, right across from the current Case Farms property. The applicant is Case Farms. The heavy industrial district is, if you look at the map that was provided, is the area that's hashed in the yellow. And then further down on the map, at the bottom of your map, there is an area that's in blue. That is the light industrial. So total, that's 152 acres. Currently, it is vacant. This property is currently vacant. Planning Board has reviewed this proposal, and they do recommend approval. Additionally, we have posted the property. We put a sign on Mitchell Road and another sign on Pecan Road, and we have mailed notices to adjacent property owners, and we have advertised in the newspaper as well. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
And, did you say you did not get any communication back from anyone that you mailed the letters to?
That's right. We have not received any comments back.
And so we're voting on to have the hearing.
We voted on that last. This is, we can, once the public hearing is closed, we can take action.
Anybody in the audience like to speak, ask questions?
I had a quick question, though, if I could. I didn't realize the property was where this map, I should have looked at this a little closer. This is actually, is this, any of this in the flood area?
It's not. It's actually just outside.
It's just outside?
Yeah.
So.
There may be a small corner there in the bottom, but most of it's going to be outside of that flood area.
Okay, if I'm looking at this little dotted green line square that's cut out here is the lift station, is that correct?
Yes.
Down on Pecan Road.
On Pecan Road, that's right.
Okay, now I know where we're talking about. Okay.
How many?
So all that's vacant?
It is.
Help me out on telling how many residents did you mail to, and how many residents are basically in that area? I'm not just talking about technically how many joined up that you would have to send the letters to. But tell us a little bit about the composite of that area.
Right. We sent 12 notices out to adjacent property owners. There are more than 12 properties around it, but a lot of those properties are in common ownership.
Like what?
In common ownership. So that may be a little, meaning that the same person owns 2 or 3 or 4 properties adjacent. So there were 12 different property owners that received a notice adjacent to this site. There's probably a handful, maybe directly adjacent, up to maybe 6 or 7 homes. Mainly, there's some across the street, across Mitchell Road. Look like some homes there on a large tract that are rental. But most of the homes are going to be down below at the southern end where the light industrial is. So a lot of those homes are adjacent to the light industrial. And from what I understand, I think that's why Case Farms requested that, is because it was a little more residential to the south. So they were requesting a less intense industrial district because of that.
Mr. Chairman, there is a list of the property owners that suggested to it that was notified. It's not a list like was on the last issue, but the ones that's got the individual maps, Barry, is that not correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that you ask if there's anyone here to speak and then close it, and then the board can make any comments at that time.
Second chance, you may wish to speak. If not, okay.
Good morning. I'm Ben Scarborough. I'm one of the members that owns this property. You were asking about the wetlands. There's 225 acres of up above on the right-hand side that we sold earlier in the year to a mitigation group in Raleigh for wetland mitigation. This is what's the balance of the farm. Case has come to us and given us a very nice offer on the property, and I'm an agronomy major. I farmed it for many years. My father bought this farm 18 months before I was born. I'll be 65 in 2 months. And up there, it's all above ground or up high on the escarpments, what's left. It is so sandy that one year out of 10 you'd make money, 2 out of 10 you'd break even, and the other 7, it was a losing battle. So we had put it in a conservation program for quail for a 10-year period. Strata came to us about 5 years ago wanting to put a big solar farm in there. After about 18 months negotiation with the Air Force, they denied us due to the zoning ordinance. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to go ahead and finish diversing that piece of property, and we would greatly appreciate that you would go ahead and honor this request. Thank you.
Before you leave, so you're sure that there's not going to be an impact of families that we just don't know about? You're saying that you own all that land, so
Ain't nobody live out there.
so there's no one nearby that will be impacted, that although they're not here, you feel comfortable that it's just not going to impact someone that we don't see or
To
hear
my
from?
knowledge, not. No, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pope, you see.
It's a delicate matter we're talking about today. I just want to throw this out at you. If we're going to move forward with economic development, things like this come to us, but we got to be careful how we do those things, because we can stymie and completely stop economic development. Because if we don't do things like this that these companies want to expand and grow on, because we can't put them in our industrial park, so we got to look at them in the right way. But if we send out a signal that we're not open for expansions and economic development, then we run into some other issues. So we want to make good decisions, but make sure we make them for pro-economic development, because we want to create jobs. That's what we're here to do, and that's what you hired me to do. So stuff like this is delicate, but let's make sure we keep economic development in the right mind, because we want these companies to grow, and this is how we do those things. So anyway, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I call for a vote.
All right. All in favor, please signify, raise your right hand.
Did you make a motion? Make a motion.
Well, we got to close the public hearing first.
Public hearing now closed.
Make a motion, we act on this matter, Mr. Chairman.
All right. All in favor, please signify, raise your right hand.
Our approval.
Now, the consent agenda, we had a review of it at 8 o'clock briefing. They have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify, raise your right hand. Now, the new business, Mr. Honeycutt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we discussed earlier, we have been approached by Downtown Goldsboro Development Corporation about the possibility of donating the Will Sullivan Building, which is the county owns, which is located at 109 Ormond. We have no use for that building once we move probation out of it. The building would take a lot to really renovate and to upgrade for use for us. They would like to look at it for historic tax credits as they've done some other properties in town. And they would like to ask that the county begin working towards the possibility of donating that property to DGDC. And with your motion and approval, there's a couple of different ways that we've talked to our attorneys about that we would like to maybe do it. I don't think we have settled on one way yet, but we would just like to begin that process really as quickly as possible to try to transfer that to them.
Mr. Chairman. Well, with the great success that they've had, especially with yesterday's announcement of a $12 million investment in downtown, I would enthusiastically make the motion that we begin negotiations to transfer this property.
Julie Metz is here as well if you have any questions.
Great.
So, but we appreciate the work Julie has done and really her reaching out to us about the building also.
That's and then authorize the conveyance to the downtown association, and then let us work it out so we don't have to wait for it.
That's exactly my motion. Word for word.
All right, any discussion on that motion that was trued up? No discussion, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
The next, we'll have Allison Spade, our finance officer, give our quarterly financials.
Be a PowerPoint. The green, the bright green. Green for money. How about that? Thank you. Yes. If you can just put it on presentation. Awesome. Thank you. Good morning. So I am presenting to you first the quarterly financial statements for the county. And so this would represent July through September of this year. I passed out to you this morning two different sets of documents. One would be the financials for the county and one is for the Tourism Authority. So I'm going to be focusing on the one for the county right now. The document that you have is a little more detailed than what I'll go over this morning, but if you have any questions today or if you have any after this, please feel free to email me and ask me anything you would like. What I would like to point out at the beginning is, since this is early in the fiscal year, you will see that our cash looks a little down, our expenditures are above our revenues right now, and that is completely typical. As you all know, taxes are typically the bulk of those taxes are not collected until a little bit later in the year. So we're out there spending money, but we've not really collected a bulk of our revenues yet. And we also have some grants that have not come in. So if you see that on your financial statements, I didn't want you to be alarmed. That's just the timing of the way our revenues come in. So I will jump right into the points that I want to highlight. The first is our property tax revenues. And I did just talk about that a little bit. We've collected $5.1 million to date. That is a little bit ahead of where we were this time last year. But again, it's early. There could be timing differences in large taxpayers, and we have collected 10% of budget, which is not, it doesn't look proportional, but that's just the way that our tax collections work. So probably about December and January, I'll be able to give you a little bit more update, a better report on that. Delinquent collections are up over prior year. Alan and his office always do an excellent job with that, and our collection rate remains high. For vehicle taxes, we've collected $1.8 million to date. Again, that is a little above where we were at this time last year. And we are above on that budget projections. And if you recall, the vehicle system changed, it's been a while ago now. So we do not have the delinquent collections like we used to have. Our delinquency rate is very low on vehicle tax collections, and that is because you are now pretty much forced to pay up front and pay when you do your inspection. So that changed sort of the dynamic of the way our vehicle tax collections work. Sales taxes. Now this is an exciting slide because we have collected $6.2 million to date, and that is an increase of $666,000 over where we were last year. So I see a smile on Mr. Daugherty's face.
Told you.
I was waiting for that too. So you know that is great news. The overall collection is 29% of what has been budgeted. So we are ahead of our budget figures right now. So we would like to see that trend continue. And the chart that you have before you or on the slideshow is actually through October, but what I've given you as far as figures is through September. I just always like to give you the most recent information on your charts. But October was higher as well. Just going to go over a few selected capital projects. I'm not going to dwell on them very long time. Maxwell Center, James Wade did update you this morning, and of course my financials are pretty much just reiterating what he already told you. Our operational net income to date is approximately $18,000, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but the point is it's in the black, so that's what we like to see. And then I've added a little line here for the city occupancy tax. Mr. Daugherty, I know you asked me about this from time to time, and this is the 2% that we receive on a quarterly basis from the city of Goldsboro of occupancy taxes. And it is, per our agreement, it goes to the operation, or it goes towards the Maxwell Center. So we collect that on a quarterly basis, and to date we have received $111,000. And that is tracking above what we budgeted simply because occupancy taxes are coming in good as well. So hopefully that will continue. So $111,000, and I will continue to update that every time I give you a financial statement so you have that revenue figure that's coming in.
The 111 is for how many months?
That is for 3 months. That's a quarterly amount. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I will make sure I include this every time so that I can update you on where that's at. The 911 Center, the 911 Emergency Operations Center, it is still early as far as our expenditures, but I did want to go ahead and update you simply because it's kind of, it's really off, I mean, it's really going now. So we've spent about $829,000, most of that being on architect and construction cost. I do want to let you know, we set a budget for this back in 2016. And so what we are doing right now is working with Mission Critical to fine-tune the budget and the individual line items in that budget as far as IT equipment, furniture, networking costs, things like that. So I fully expect that I will come back to you with a budget amendment, but I don't know what that will be at this point because there are, if you remember, a few different funding sources for this project. We have county funds, we have 911 grant, and we have 911 restricted funds. And then I don't know with partnering with Duplin County if we're gonna, what that will look like as far as reimbursement from them. But those things are still being fine-tuned, and I just wanted to let you know that this is not a final budget, but we are trying to work on getting that finalized as much as we possibly can. So as soon as I have that, I will bring it before you. But Mission Critical is reviewing in detail the workbook on that and all the equipment that's going to go sort of inside the building so that we can make sure we're taking advantage of all the other funds before county funds first. So. Meadow Lane and Edgewood, this is probably one of the last times I'll report on this one just because it's pretty much finalized, but we've spent approximately 99% of that budget, and we will be reaching out to the schools to confirm if we can close that project out and what the final billing amounts are. But I wanted to let you know that that was still sort of outstanding, but we're going to be closing that out pretty soon. So I'll give you a final report on that before I close it out. Miscellaneous items, on our proprietary funds, indirect costs have not been booked yet. We typically do not book those until later in the year. I want to make a point on EMS net revenues. If you look through this financial report, the revenues are going to look down. They're going to look like they're down from last year and down from budget. If you recall, we changed billing companies effective July 1st, and there's a lot that goes into that with getting insurance payments set up and payments set up with the different facilities. And the company is working with us, meeting with us, but it's just taking some time. So I wanted to let you know that that's the reason for that, but we are working on getting that updated. So the Jetport budget and expenditures, you will notice there's an increase in those, but that's pretty much grant-funded projects, the largest being the corporate area expansion grant. And I know you all are familiar with that as well. On our internal service funds, the workers' comp claims, we have had an increase in these, but I do know that Ginger has been working with our company to, we've had some old old claims that have been sitting on the books for a while. And I know she has been working diligently with the company to try to get those taken care of. So I'm hoping that maybe after some of those have been resolved, we'll see it stabilize. Hospitalization has sort of stabilized the last few months. We had sort of a higher claim year last year, but we are meeting with Mark III in the next week, I think, to go over what our plan is doing right now and keep up to date on that. Fleet management, there were some billing issues. You probably recall in the last half of the last fiscal year. Those have improved, and we've also been able to pay off the interfund loan. If you recall, when Fleet first opened, there was a $60,000 interfund loan to Fleet Management Fund from the general fund, and we've been paying that off $20,000 at a time. We did not pay anything on it the first year because we wanted to get it up and going, but it has now been satisfied in full. So that's good news. Any questions on the county financial statements? Kind of hit the highlights, but if you have anything else that comes up, please, again, feel free to email me. It's kind of early, so.
Well, the only question I had is on the first page here where you've got interest.
Yes, sir.
$119,000. So for the 3 months, we have gained $119,000 from interest.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Even though it's down from last year, we appreciate more of that.
That was a very brief ride I had on that little high.
A brief ride. No. Keep it up.
Yes, sir. We are certainly trying to keep that up as much as possible. Unfortunately, with the feds cutting rates, that sort of puts a dent in what we were doing. So hopefully, I think they're projecting not as many rate cuts as what they had originally talked about, but certainly we try to take advantage of what we can. So yes, we will definitely continue to watch that.
And it was good news on the sales tax.
Any other questions? Okay, I will move on to Tourism Authority. This one will be brief, but certainly, again, if you have any other questions, I'll be glad to entertain those. We are also in the first quarter of our Wayne County Tourism Development Authority, and what we've noticed is that the occupancy taxes tend to follow the sales taxes, it seems like, on our side anyway. But the occupancy taxes are coming in really strong. So we are about $40,000 ahead of what was budgeted and have collected about $8,000 more than what we did last year, which is pretty good for a budget our size. We've spent a significant portion of advertising monies up front, but that is typically we have contracts that are due at the beginning of the fiscal year, so some of that does get allocated out at the very beginning of the fiscal year. We do have a separate line item this year for the Maxwell Center. The county manager requested that we put in a line item of $5,000 specifically for Maxwell Center. That has not been spent yet, but I did want to make you aware that we have that set up. The final point I wanted to make on Tourism Authority is our audit is complete for the 18-19 fiscal year. We received an unmodified opinion, which is the highest opinion you can receive. And collections at year end, at June 30, ended up at $51,000 above what was budgeted, and our fund balance increased about $30,000. So it was a strong year for Tourism Authority. It's still trending to look like another strong year, so we're happy to see that. We do present the full audit and financial statements to that board as well. And since we're discussing audit, I will tell you that the county audit is definitely underway, and we're getting to the point where we're wrapping that up. Hope we will have that presented maybe around the January timeframe for the county audit. Any questions? That's all I have for you today.
If we're doing so good on tourism, that means we need another hotel, right?
Absolutely. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to county manager's comments, and a couple things did want to mention. Number one, as Commissioner Daugherty mentioned earlier, and we talked about it a little bit, was we had a really good announcement yesterday with the historic tax credits that were approved in House Bill 399, and that really pushed forward the downtown development of about $12 million. And if you remember, we are a part of that project as well, as we provided tax incentives for that project for the life of it. So it's a really good project for Goldsboro. It's a really good project for us. But I appreciated the work that our representatives have done, our Representative Bell, Representative Smith, and also Senator Perry. But also thank you for Commissioner Daugherty for being there. And the city has really done a good job on this, and Julie Metz has done a great job. But they should be looking in construction January of this coming year. So about, as Commissioner Daugherty said, about $12 million project. Next, we talked a little bit about the 911 facility and construction. We've got a picture. Yeah. Well, we had a picture, but it was just kind of a picture updating where the building is. And this is a paragraph that I got from Jim Stumbo. Oh, there it is. So, thank you. Construction continues on the new 911 emergency services building. The contractor has completed the construction of the majority of the load-bearing concrete masonry walls and is now in the process of grouting the block cavities within the concrete block for added strength and storm resistance. The exterior finished brick has started at the interior high walls that surround the new communications call room. Steel roof joists and metal deck are installed over the communications room and is progressing on the lower roofs around the perimeter. Also, wood blocking and flashings have been installed around all the window openings in the building. And during our last construction meeting, they are on target and time frame for completion.
Which would be?
It was a year from the start, so that is August. I think it's August 1.
Okay.
So it should be August, July in that time frame. But the project's going well. We are still working very closely, as Allison said, with Mission Critical, trying to firm up some of the interior parts of the building, but it's moved well so far. So a lot to be proud of.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, Ms. Honeycutt.
Yes, sir.
When you have those construction meetings, is RCC also involved in those meetings? Okay, all right.
RCC and yes, sir, they have been. We've made some changes to make as far as some towers because of RCC being there.
Okay.
Also, rough graded parking areas and access drives to the grade are gravel, so you can see that as well. But that's an update on the 911 center. Also, at the request of Chairman Gurley, our next meeting, lunch will be scheduled at the Wayne Jetport. And we've worked with Brandon Gray, who will have us kind of ready for a tour. If you've not been out to the Jetport in a while, we need to take a tour of the Jetport, because looking at the corporate area expansion, the water line extensions, the road extensions, the pad extensions, there's a lot of work going on out there, and I think it's important that you go out there as well, and I appreciate the chairman having that suggestion. So we'll adjourn here and then go and finish up with lunch at the Jetport. Great. And that is all I have.
All right. Mr. Cromartie.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make my comments probably of a personal nature, but it's something that I will read so that I do not get it wrong. This is concerning the re-election announcement for myself for the District 2 that I represent. I shall take this opportunity to announce my intention to seek re-election to District 2 County Commission position. District 2 extends from Duplin County line to inside the Goldsboro city limits. I take great pride in representing all the residents within this district. I have and will always continue to work for the overall good of Wayne County, to include all races, genders, religions, and cultures. I take exceptional pride in the newly built schools and renovations made to various school buildings and other public sites that have taken place while I have served. There are other projects on the table, such as the Department of Social Service building, the forthcoming renovation of that facility on Dix Trail, the Board of Health building that I know they are hoping for, completion of the 911 center, and specifically the approval of the gym at Southern Wayne. Take a lot of pride in that. I would like to make one additional not written comment. I would like to share with you all that the PE teachers use the gym for classes, all right? Probably 3 or 4 physical education teachers, and they probably have anywhere from 20 to 35 or 40 students each, and that's run all day. So a gym is not just a place to come and play on Thursday night or Tuesday night basketball games and so forth, but it is a classroom on an ongoing basis. And those who have recently attended Southern Wayne know that that's a very active place with classes going on. So when you're talking about classroom space, that's a gymnasium for basketball games at night, but it's also classroom space. While we are mindful of the needs of schools, I will continue to yield to the Board of Education and studies that are conducted to determine where classrooms are required. And I know we had the school folk over this morning, but I'm looking forward to them presenting us plans with demographic information that would say where the schools need to be put. And to my colleague on my right, clearly I understand and aware of the needs at Spring Creek, because it was a junior high school and was never, it was designed in the first place to be a high school with all the things that go on at a high school, so we understand that. To our west, we know that the Rosewood area with junior high school, that it needs a new building, but down in the southern part of Wayne County, Brogdon Primary is in need. But having said that, I expect the Board of Education to share with us what their needs are, and we react to those in an appropriate manner. While I continue to serve District 2 in Wayne County, there are other various issues that I will continue to fight for. Supporting the needs of teachers in the classroom with material supplies and working on supplements that will make them competitive with counties around us, and to retain them in Wayne County, but also to retain them at the schools that are or were low performing. Recovery efforts from recent storms Matthew and Florence. I will work to, and this is a bold statement, and I mean it in its fullest intentions, work to drain the wet areas in Wayne County and to prevent future flooding. That's the reason that I sort of asked Dave this morning about that other third of the dollars that may be appropriate for us, and how would that be spent, and can it be spent for preventive measures? I'm a firm believer, and I want to thank the departments that we have in Wayne County who have worked on rivers and streams. That's not unimportant. But we knew dollars like, what's that, $8 or $9 million, $10 million might provide for heavy equipment to do some real work to drain the areas of Wayne County. We have to do something that will cause that water to flow to the Neuse River and onto the ocean. Because right this minute, when we have storms, as Dora came past and left water with it, I have pictures of areas that are totally flooded, but there's no place for that water to go. So they have to wait for the water to seep into the ground, not drain and run off someplace. We need to correct that. And I've been approached by lots of folks south of the Neuse River who have that. And there are a couple of gentlemen in Dudley who have worked on Matthew and Florence and have damage from both and are still not recovered. I'll also continue to be working with Wayne Community College to bring training of skill level opportunities to the masses. And there are some nonprofits out there who are doing individual training, and I have worked with, I know that young lady's name was, but we met with her in the meetings, and we're working to increase the number of people who need skill training and connect them to the college where they would not normally have a route to. So we're working in that respect. I would like to conclude by saying I will continue to work for harmony across the races of people in Wayne County to ensure respect for people that are harvesting the food we eat, respect for those in authority, leadership, and to ensure that those in authority and leadership respect every man, woman, and child. But there's respect that needs to flow in all directions. And there's a need for that in Wayne County, but it's a need for that all across North Carolina and the nation. We must refuse to follow bad examples that may come out of Washington, Raleigh, or Wayne County. I take especially an opportunity to reflect on the Pledge of Allegiance that we say every day. It ends by saying liberty and justice for all, and I believe that, and I want us to work towards that. In these next few years, I want us to try from this office and this group to pay special attention to that and provide leadership to that. In conclusion, I will work with Wayne County and other leaders as we strive to ensure that we uphold the values of one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, as I previously said. That concludes my comments for today.
Thank you. Commissioner Daugherty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we recognize, we have completed the committee's action on redistricting. And as you are aware, I served on that, which could have been a very contentious committee for me to be on. But needless to say, we did get through our meetings. And I want to report back that one of the reasons that I wanted to serve on that committee was to make sure that our facilities actually had as best use possible. Before we go out and actually build new facilities, we needed some assurances that our facilities are in fact used as they were intended to be used to their maximum. One of the overriding things that came out of that entire process, though, was that on elementary schools in Wayne County, you couldn't change the line to affect a better use, in that all of our schools are at 104% capacity. Think about that a minute. On the elementary schools, they all are at basically 104% capacity. So With that in mind, the one thing that came out of that was that, in fact, we desperately need to build an elementary school in Wayne County. That we're faced with. When it comes to high schools, actually, we have spaces available there with high schools. We are not at capacity or over capacity. Middle school is close, but our urgent need is basically for elementary school. Coupled with that, when you start talking about facilities, we have one of the oldest middle schools in this entire state of North Carolina. And it's almost, we need to open it up for tours. You would be amazed just going through that facility in Rosewood. There is an urgent need, and this redistricting committee uncovered that more than I was aware of. We have an urgent need for facilities, and yet we have a limited capability of being able to finance those urgent needs. And I was pleased to see that school member Vin Falk actually initiated a conversation regarding coming up with a plan as well as a funding source for implementing the plan. And he is highly recommending, I hope, to his board that they propose a 1/4-cent sales tax with a condition that the 1/4-cent sales tax proceeds entirely, 100%, go to facility needs. Now, agreed in doing so, I think it uncovered also one of the pushbacks that we had at the last election, where we had proposed the 1/4-cent sales tax. And it uncovered the fact that there was doubt and suspicion in regards to the use of those dollars, should I say. They weren't fully convinced that we were committed to actually placing it all to education, or that we would supplant or whatever. I think that we are moving in the right direction to have a specific need or earmark for those funds to go specifically to school facilities. I await to hear back some recommendation from our school board as to the specifics of that. Redistricting as a whole, at this point, though, has been placed on complete hold until we can resolve facility needs. Now, we were anticipating, I think a lot of people were anticipating, that Wayne County would receive, I think the figure was $19 million, $20 million approximately from the budget. Well, we all have come to the realization, I don't think we're going to have a budget passed this year. So that is also on hold. But we can't really effectively draw different lines when you haven't addressed really the facility need. So the committee as a whole wanted to address facility need on the elementary level before we even address any school district lines. There's no reason to move the lines 2 or 3 times and affecting different families and children. At any rate, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bill.
I attended the Gateway meeting, and I won't duplicate what the chairman gave when he talked about the thing we're doing for the veterans. So that is my report.
Commissioner Aycock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try to keep it brief. Attended several events since the last meeting. Had the pleasure of going down to Mount Olive, and when they announced the $5 million grant that the town of Mount Olive had received for their wastewater and sewer facilities, that's going to be a great impact on the southern end of the county, and especially Mount Olive. As far as growth, it's going to be a big impact on our industrial park we have down there. And so grateful for the one that was involved in helping secure those funds. Also, I want to thank Commissioner Gurley and Commissioner Mayo for being there Sorry you couldn't be there, Commissioner Camardi, but it had a good turnout, and that's going to be a great project. Also, yesterday, I had the pleasure of going to Raleigh for the ceremony for promotions for Highway Patrol, for troopers in the Highway Patrol. And I was honored that 2 of Wayne County's finest were promoted yesterday. Joe Cotton was promoted to Major yesterday, and Ricky Hooks was promoted to Captain yesterday, and I'm very proud of those, I still call them young men, for what they've accomplished in the Highway Patrol. That's 2 very important positions. And the sheriff was also there yesterday to help represent Wayne County. But then again, very, very proud of those 2 gentlemen. Last night I attended they had to push it over into November. As all of y'all, I'm very passionate about the breast cancer, and October is Breast Cancer Month. But the ceremony that the hospital usually has, they had to push it back to the 1st of November this year because of the guest speaker. They had a guest speaker, a young lady that was battling breast cancer from either South Dakota or North Dakota, a dynamic speaker. But it kind of surprised everyone. She didn't talk about her cancer. She talked about, what the impact is to your community and your family, and how you can deal with not only breast cancer but other tragedies. And dynamic speaker, and had a good turnout. It's been discussed several times today, brought up in 2 or 3 conversations on the money that was appropriated for hurricane relief. I don't know this, but I got a good suspicion that third of the money that's not here is laying on someone's desk in Raleigh. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right. As I mentioned earlier, Commissioner Pape wanted everybody to know that he was home and anxious to get out, and he would be at our next meeting. So we wish Bill a complete recovery. And as Wayne mentioned earlier about the Mount Olive presentation of that $5.6 million sewer expansion program, that's going to be very helpful right now for Mount Olive immediately, and then for the future too. It's tremendous help to that town. And also a couple of weeks ago, a couple of Saturdays ago, there was 3 or 4 things going on, and Wayne and I kind of teamed up and split them up. And one of them I went to was Rosewood Fire Department. I had a groundbreaking for their training facility. The final cause, I don't have it down, but it's going to be interesting to see how that all develops, and see if there'll be a training model that we make use in the future countywide. And as Mr. Honeycutt said earlier about the Jetport luncheon, I was out there a couple of weeks ago. I was in the community. I just dropped by there, and that place has changed. If you ain't been there in 6 months, 12 months, it could be an eye-opener for you. That's all I have. So now,
Mr. Chairman, I forgot one thing. We are, I don't know whether it'll be today or not, but it'll be in the near future. There's going to be a big announcement for Wayne Community College. I don't have the authority to make that announcement, but I do have. Okay. No, I do. I got a thumbs up from the back. I'm gonna read the email then. This is what Dr. Walker sent to the trustees and foundation board members. I am proud to inform you that tomorrow, I got this yesterday, Wayne Community College will be in the national news. At 9 a.m. on November the 5th, the Aspen Institute will announce that Wayne Community is one of 150 institutions nationally that are eligible to compete for the 2021 Aspen Prize for Community College Excellence, and $1 million in prize funds, and $1 million in prize funds. I was contacted about this opportunity a few days ago and was instructed to keep our eligibility confidential until it is released to the media. But I wanted you to hear about it first from me. This is an honor. This is an honor and incredible appropriations. Only 15% of community colleges nationwide have been invited to apply for this Aspen Prize. The selection was based on performance in student outcomes, including graduation rates, improvement in student success, and equivalent study success. The next step will be submission of our application by December the 5th. A jury of national experts will select 10 finalist institutions and ultimately one winner of this prestigious award. I will keep you appraised and move forward in this process. And I just got the thumbs up, so it's official. But that's big for Wayne Community College in Wayne County and the city of Goldsboro. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I did have a little brief. Don't forget to vote today. Municipal elections, please vote.
All right, so that is it. We go to closed session for the purpose.
Discussing the location and expansion of businesses in Wayne County to consider the qualifications and performance of a county employee and to consult with attorneys employed to preserve the attorney-client privilege.
All right. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made, all in favor, signify by raising your right hand.